Hola,
Puro sabrosito, guap, 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 Finstop today! Finstop today! Oh, Finstop, baby, Miami, stand up! This is Finstop today! Let's go! Sun up over day, game day on the brain, from the tailgate smoke to the hard count rain. Orange aqua on my back, crowd shaking every seat. We talking ball, talking heat, turn it up, feel that beat. Fins talk today, fins talk today. Fins up all day from the 305, we ride that way. Bobby Fins talk, Fins Sammy on the way. Miami, vamos, it's Fins talk today. Hey, 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 it's Fins talk today. Who you reppin'? Who you riding? Miami, who you riding? Dolphins, we break it down, break it live, every snap, every drive. Hey, Fins talk today. Fins up all day from the 305, we ride that way. Fins talk, Fins Sammy on the way. Miami, vamos, vamos, it's Fins talk today. Hey, 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 Fins talk today.
All right. Good evening, Dolphin fans, and welcome to a post-draft edition. We finally made it over the mountaintop for a post-draft edition of Fins Talk today here on FTSN, powered by FTSN and Fins TV, sponsored by Caneswear. I'm Bobby Fins Talk, joined always by the one and only Fins Sammy of Fins TV, my brother Sammy. Woo! How you doing, brother?
How you doing, brother? Hopefully, the waters have settled down, and we're gonna have a nice smooth sailing this week with all Dolphins fans singing "Kumbaya." Everybody's happy right now. Yes. Those are also not high, but at least I think Fins Nation feels a little bit better today compared to the last weekend. So we're just gonna talk about that. So
Yeah, because we were there, we were watching live, we were tracking it live. We had a great, coverage of the draft, at least in my opinion. It was turned out really well. Great crew, great production. Josh Whitgate killed it with the tracker, so we were able to stay up to date with the picks and even get the picks before it ended up on TV, which was pretty damn cool. But of course, what happens is it happens every year. We all get hung up on one or two or three guys. We think we know what our team's going to do, or we talk ourselves into a guy, and then they go another route, and we hate the guy before he even plays a snap. And then 24, 48, whatever hours, we start to settle down. We start to watch the film, and we see them in the uniform, or we picture them in the uniform, and we start to like the guy. There's those fans that really hate the pick, and then they talk themselves into liking the pick. And there's other fans who are just like, hey, that always happens, right? We know that. And then there's other guys who, or girls or fans, whatever, who are like, you know what, I didn't think about getting this person. But again, for me is new GM, new coach, new philosophy, trusted. Let's go and trust their vision and let's roll out. So this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to go pick by pick, round by round, and grade these picks. And again, people, that's not fair to grade the picks because they haven't played. That's not the point. Point's not about grading them as players right now, because we don't know how they're going to do. Proctor could be an absolute bust, and then that was a terrible pick 5 years from now. Or he could be a great player, and it's a great pick. The point is like, okay, hey, who was on the board at that time? Who would have gotten at that point? That's what I think about grading. Like you go, oh, look, Proctor, hey, yeah, Bane's still on the board. Yeah, this guy's still on the board. Maybe you would probably went this route, give it this type of grade. That's what I mean by grading. So we're going to go ahead and do that. When Sammy gives everybody an F, it doesn't mean Sammy hates the guys. He just thought they could have done something else. So that's how we're going to roll. And man, shout out to Jon-Eric Sullivan. I mean, as soon as the draft was over, they went to town on getting these UDFAs. They signed Le'Veon Moss. They got Mason Reiger out of Wisconsin, the linebacker. I mean, so there's some really good players that Miami has brought in, not just from the draft. And the players that they brought in are guys that could contribute, like on this roster, because there's not really much to contribute with this roster. There's probably only a few solidified guys that are, I don't want to say guaranteed a roster spot, but kind of guaranteed a starting spot, at least. Devon Achin, he's going to be the starter. Malik Willis. He'll be the starter. So let's see. Let's say hello to everybody. We got Panda 85, Robert Thomason, Fernando, Finstanza. Great to see everyone popping in here. You guys are watching FTSN Fins Talk Today live on FTSN. It's powered by FTSN and Fins TV. So appreciate you all jumping in here. Make sure something missing there. Maybe it's not, but that's okay. But anyway, we're going to have in just a few minutes Nando from Nando Talk on. I'm excited to talk to him again. It's been a while since I've been on air with him. I mean, he is awesome. So I'm excited to get his perspective. He was at the Fort Lauderdale Miami Dolphins draft party on night one. So I'd love to get his reaction. And should it not be Fins Talk tonight? No. It's Fins
Talk
about
that before.
Today. I know.
How about that before? What are you doing?
He said,
he has to say
how can I troll? How can I
don't.
troll? No, it's Fins Talk today. It's Fins Talk today. Because today is night and day. And it was the flagship. It's the first show that started everything. So it's not Fins Talk tonight. But thanks for asking. PSG in there. Did someone say Finstanza? Great to see him. Sure, I'm not missing here.
Finstanza's #1 fan. This is the president of Finstanza fan club. You see Finstanza, you got a shout out. So,
yeah,
that's enough for today.
There are a few Finstanza fans. I will say that for a fact. I've seen them pop in more than once or twice. Make sure I pop this here. So some of the rumors that have come out too, I want to bring this up before we get Nando in here. Miami, we talked about possibly double dipping at wide receiver. They actually triple dipped. They got Caleb Douglas out of Texas Tech. They got Chris Bell out of Louisville. And then they wrapped it up with Kevin Coleman out of Missouri, who also played for Louisville early on in his career. Somebody that some people consider a steal for some. One moment.
Yeah. It's your guy, but because you like him so much. You were pulling for the guy this year. You finally got Bell for the office. A lot of talk about the wide receivers. Bell was projected by some first-round pick. I saw some pundits this week that saying Bell should not be even been a third-round pick. We don't agree on that. I think he's one of my favorite players in the whole draft. But I think Bell might sit half of the season. The Dolphins might, sit him for the whole year. Well, hopefully he comes back and finds a way to play. Douglas, the other wide receiver, we'll have to wait and see because I thought it was very, very interesting the fact that Pete Prisco, who has to be blocked by the way, who usually hates on the Dolphins. I heard he had a great conversation today with Joe Rose, and he said he liked the Dolphins pick. He liked the Douglas pick. He liked the Proctor pick. So I was kind of surprised that usually the guys that don't like the stuff the Dolphins are doing thought they did really, really well. But you're gonna talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, and I will say too, one thing I've noticed that a lot of guys who are not like those ESPN, NFL Network pundits, but guys who like follow the draft and kind of like the science of it, quote unquote. Sorry, they think Miami had a solid draft. They love what they. I've seen a lot of people that do the draft and like, I just love the players, man. They got a lot of great value, different type of picks. So a lot of picks that we may have been scratching our heads, looking and watching. A lot of guys who do this for a living, whereas we're saying it was a solid draft. So I'll take them for their word. But just talking about the 3 wide receivers Miami has signed, plus they signed Tutu Atwell, plus they signed Jalen Tolbert out of Dallas. And we got Malik and Taj Washington as well. And a couple other guys, Theo Reese and whatever. Miami is actually rumored to be interested in San Francisco 49ers receiver Jaron Jennings, which I'm actually not against. I think that would actually be a solid signing, for a solid veteran signing for Miami. And a lot of people go, oh, but quote unquote, we're tanking. Why would we do that? I don't believe this team is tanking. I don't know if they're going to be a good enough team. I don't know how many games they're going to win. I'm not going in with any expectations.
That's scheduled.
Yeah, but I think they're going to play. They're going to play to win. Do they win? I don't know, but they're going to play to win. So if they could bring in a player like a Jaron Jennings into their wide receiver room, they'll do it. And I'm not against it. I like Jaron Jennings. I think he'll be a solid addition, especially if Chris Bell's going to miss. If he does miss half the season, supposedly he's on track to make the start of the season, but they may play it safe. They drafted him with the intention of him being a long-term player in Miami. very early on. Let's go ahead and we will bring this up here as we continue to talk about the Dolphins 2026 draft, as we shortly will welcome the one and only Nando, who is popping in. I mean, again, I have not been on a show with this gentleman in a while, but he is one of the most fun individuals to talk to, talking Dolphins football. So I'm excited to talk to him again, bring him in shortly when he is ready, and get his thoughts again on the Dolphins draft, the Dolphins new regime, and then we'll go pick by pick, just talking about grades here. So he's joining shortly here. Let me make sure I'm reading here. Robert says this will be the third Louisville wide receiver on the Dolphins, Mark Clayton and Devontae Parker. Yes, let's hope we get more of a Mark Clayton type of situation. Anything Dolphins will lead to total bipolarization. Absolutely. Always.
Actually, it's even worse because I usually say that, there are some fans that are always going to support the team. There's some fans that are always going to criticize, and there's some fans that are going to do no matter what. They're going to swing either way. So usually you get 2/3 of the fan base basically complaining, and when you don't have done a lot of winning the last 20 years, it's understandable. So it's bound to happen.
100%. Let's go ahead and Nando, when you're ready, give your thumbs up. We'll get you in here, my man. You can hear us good. I think he can. All right, let's do this.
He's prepping himself. There he is.
There he is. There he is.
How's it going? Welcome. Can you hear me?
I hear you
Yes,
good,
sir.
my man. How you doing, Nando?
Perfect. Thank you for having me on. A pleasure to see you, Bobby. Nice to see you, Sammy. There we go. I'm hoping my camera's at a good angle. I'm not sure if it's actually picking me up, but thank you, everybody, fellow Fins fans. It's a fun time after the draft. Fun time to be
You're
here.
good, brother. You're good.
Yeah, man. It's been good, man. It's been a while since I've seen you. So I'm excited to get a chance to talk Dolphins with you again after this. Look, got the Sully headshot there. That look at Sammy's already prepared. But man, it's been a while, my brother. How are you, man?
Doing well. Just trying to do some work, trying to finish up some school. So it's been hectic, but still sticking through with the Dolphins every minute of it. So at the end of the day, it's been a fun time,
100%. Well, it's been a little bit since we've gotten rid of Greer and McDaniel, and we've brought Sullivan and Halfley. But since I haven't heard from you with your thoughts on those guys, I'd love to get to know what was your, how do you feel about Miami moving on from Greer and McDaniel, and now with Sullivan and Halfley? How are you feeling about these guys?
Well, I'm 28, so Greer's been the GM for basically like my entire life. So it was definitely like I don't know, like it's not like I was like crushed when he left, but it was definitely like, wow, this is different, And then for us to get Sully and Halfley, it was nice to have two guys who at least finally seemed to be on the same page. Like I liked McDaniel, Greer was cool, but they never seemed to be aligned in the same vision, And I think that two guys coming from the same organization who will have history with each other, it should hopefully turn out well. And I liked Sully's draft. I like the way Halfley is building this team with this identity of seem to be some hard football in the trenches, and that's what I want to see. But yeah, I'm excited, guys. Let's run the ball a lot this season. It looks like.
Apparently, yes.
I think that is the plan. I think we're gonna see a lot of running on this team. The last couple of years, well, not last year, but the 2 years back, it was passing game. We're like, man, why won't they run the ball? I think this will be the season coming up where we're gonna see a lot of running the ball, and rightfully so. And hopefully with that new and improved offensive line, at least on the left side, players like Devon Achane and Ollie Gordon, and maybe even Le'Veon Moss, could live up to that. So now you were at the Dolphins draft party in Fort Lauderdale. So, man, you're there. It's getting to our pick. We see Ruben Bain is still there. I'm sure the fans, because we heard from Ashley and Lou at the other draft party, and they were like, "Oh, everybody's going to say screaming Bain, Bain, Bain." So, what was the atmosphere and the vibe coming to the pick? We trade down, we get away from downs. Bain would get 12. It's Bain, then it ends up being Caden Proctor. What was the vibe going into that pick, and then what happened right after it?
No, yeah, literally same step, bar for bar, beat for beat. It was Bane, Bane, Bane. Everybody was cheering, especially after we traded down. I wanted Caleb Downs. I thought it would have been a steal at 11, but we picked up 2/5. That's fine. That was the vision. And I thought we were going to get Bane. My buddies are ready to do the little T-Rex celebration. They're ready to go. But apparently not. Like apparently we went with Caden Proctor, who I do like. Anytime you add someone who's that size, 350 pounds, 6'7", a mountain of a man, like that's awesome. Especially when it comes to football. But it was a little sad to see him then go to Tampa, like literally still going to be in the same state. Like for a lot of fans, it's like, dang, he's right there. But I wish him the best, I did go to FIU, so like, not like I love or anything, pause up forever.
Yeah.
But hey, it's nice to see him still get drafted pretty high, even if it wasn't to Miami. But the fans at the party were all locked in on Ruben Bain. There was definitely a lot of hugs when Caden Proctor went, but I thought we were going O-lineman. I just didn't think it was that O-lineman.
I agree. Everybody kept asking, like, where do I think this is going to go? And, you could talk about Caleb Downs. You could talk about, and I was in on Ruben Bain. I would love Ruben Bain, but I was like, it was either Spencer Fanu or Francis Mauanoa. That's who I thought. When I saw those two come off the board, I was like, okay, it has to be Ruben Bain. They traded down. They're not going after Downs. And then they go Caden Proctor, and so it was a shock. But again, now, I don't know if you're familiar, we cover the draft here on FTSN. We got draft shows. We got all the, and so when I talk about offensive line, I talk about size. He fits the bill. I mean, I would talk about we need the girth. I mean, he's got the girth. He got 6'7", 300. Like, he's perfect. He's like, it's like everything wrong. And the truth is, he said that. A lot of people act like they were surprised, but Jon-Eric Sullivan has been saying exactly what he's going to do. And it's not smoke and mirrors. If you go back and listen and read everything he's been saying, it's all happened. I mean, fast gets slow in the cold, but big doesn't go small. We're going big. He's gotten pretty damn big, so, yeah, it was initial.
I love how you put that.
Thank you. But, it was shocking. But when you kind of step back from it and you like, okay, hey, this is his draft board. It makes a lot of sense. And so one thing I will say, and I said this last night on East 10th Street Boys, and you let me know what you think, Nando. A lot of people go, oh, what if Mauanoa or Fanu was there? Would he went the other way? I think he's going to draft Proctor. When you trade down and you don't go, after Bain and you trade down away from Downs, I think if Mauanoa and Spencer Fanu was still there, I think the pick was Proctor. I think they were sold on Proctor. What are your thoughts on that?
I do think so, because honestly, like I had made like a little pre-draft video as well, and like I had named like I can't Fano. I can't say Maui Goa Mount Francis.
Francis M.
Francis M. My friend Francis M. and Fano were the two guys I also had penciled in. When they went, I was like, okay. I had like Morgan Freeland, the Georgia guy. Yep. So I thought, okay, maybe that would be the pick, or Vega if we were going straight guard. So when we traded down, I go, okay, we're going Vega. We're trading down so we can get a guard. So it's not the sexiest pick, but whatever. And then we went Proctor, who I was like, oh, I totally forgot about this guy. How do you forget about somebody this big with this much positional versatility, where I think is the key. I do think that's why he was always the pick. The positional versatility, the ability to be able to play at guard, to be able to kick out to tackle if we need to. Do I want a jack of all trades, master of none? No. But do I want a guy who can be cross-trained and play at both? I'll take that, I'll take a guy who has the talent and has the chops to be able to play at both sides of the line. If it's going to make the best five guys out there, I just want the best five guys out there blocking for Malik and HN. I don't care what they like to play as long as it's the best five guys out there.
Right on. I'll say too, you brought it up and it's right on money. And that's what me and Sammy have talked about in regards to the offensive line, and what we've talked about on the Fitz Talk draft show is versatility. I know for some people it's a bad word, not for me. And I think the Dolphins, that's what they want. They don't want guys that can only play one position. They want guys who can play multiple positions. Now, Proctor only played left tackle at Alabama, but there's a lot of scouts who see him being pushed into guard. Miami, Jon-Eric Sullivan especially, sees a guy who could play tackle and guard. Same thing with DJ Campbell, guard and center. that he's going to play some spots at center. So that's the key word. So in future drafts, as long as we have Jon-Eric Sullivan, I think fans should get prepared and remember that. So let's go ahead and let's move on to round one here. We've been talking about Proctor. So we all had our expectations. As I'm with you, if it was Fanu, Mauanoa, and that was what I thought, and then we'd go to somewhere else. If not, and then we could maybe trade down and grab a tackle later. That wasn't the case. Dolphins trade down one spot. Bain's still on the board. They get Caden Proctor, tackle out of Alabama. Sammy, I'm going to start with you. What is your official grade on this pick?
I gave him a B just because of the fact that basically they had no other choice. I wanted offensive line, for all during all the weeks leading to the draft. I wanted an offensive line. I don't want the guy from Penn State because I thought taking a guard that high, I didn't want a safety that high. So I understand when people thought he was probably the best player on the board, but I still did not want a safety. So they for this hand. So it was Ruben Bain or Proctor, and I want an offensive line. So I can understand why the fans were frustrated, especially the Miami fans who really wanted Ruben Bain Jr. So I can understand that. But some of the reasons why they get a B are not under control. I would like for them to probably have Spencer Fan or Mainoa. So but they had no other choice. So to get the fact that they moved down one spot, which I truly believe that they knew what the Cowboys were going to pick. I don't think, there's some teams that had conversation with each other. So who's going to pick? And it's better for us to pick with you because we know what you're going to do instead of taking them to number 15 and having the Dyers Joe over them. So I give it a B because there's still a huge question mark. He was not a consensus top 10 pick by any means. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I know more than the pundits or more than you, Bobby. So I'm gonna go by what I know, but I'm gonna go by the people I trust. And with the people I trust, I have mixed reactions. So I'm gonna give it a solid B, just because of the fact that they had not have another choice. Because I did not believe they should go defensive line. I thought they should go offensive line for sure.
Nando, what's your official grade on Caden Proctor?
So initially, I am also not the biggest versatility guy, but if that's the play, if that's the vision, if we went for this mountain of a man, Sammy, a B is a nice floor. I want to grade it out to an A-. That's what I think. I want to. If that's Hafley, Bobby and Sammy, if that's Hafley and Sully's vision, if they're saying we're going to build through the trenches, this is the statement pick. We want this big boy who's going to be able to kick inside and then kick outside later on. And when we keep Jackson, move on from him, if there's injuries, whatever it may be, we want this big, versatile mountain of a man. Hey, I probably want to give it a B+, but I'll bump it up to an A-. I'm bought in on the vision of this new regime until they prove otherwise to me. Let's ride A-.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And I'll say again, when I think about it, and I want people to kind of get this as we get more people dropping in here. You guys watching Fitz Talk today here on FTSN. Appreciate you all jumping in here. When we talk about grading picks, it doesn't mean does the guy suck? Does he don't suck? And that's not what that is. You can't do that right now. That's not the point of this. The point is who was on the board. Like you talk about Vega or Bain, and man, I would have felt better at Vega, or I would have felt better at Bain, right? And then so that's right now I'm gonna go and make you use an A- or a B because it's the right position pick. For me, I agree. That's why I'm okay with this draft, and I feel really good about it because that was their vision. People kept saying a sigh of relief the way the draft was going. That was Alex last night. He kept saying sigh of relief, but I was like, I keep thinking vision. When I see this draft, I'm going, damn, they went that way, they went that way. And then when you research the picks, you go, okay, I could see it. I understand where they're going. Because who was still left on the board, because of Ruben Bain and Vega, I would go with a B- with the first pick. And that's not hating on it. I think this could be a solid pick because, you could plug him in at guard. I love the idea of two big behemoths at the right and the left side. If Proctor gets moved to right tackle, oh my goodness, Austin Jackson and Proctor, two giants. I mean, you're like this Lord of the Rings, the two towers. I mean, it's gonna be crazy, and that line's full of girth. I mean, it's huge. So I love it. But right now, at this point in time, because of what I felt was still on the board, Now, again, he probably was number one on his board. For me, he wasn't. So I'm going to say a B- with the first pick.
That's totally
Now-
fair.
Go ahead,
Totally fair. If you take into the grand scheme of things and look at who else is on the board, yes, like 1,000%, I could see why it goes into the B tier and the B tier for both of you guys. Like it's valid.
100%. Now, Miami has pick 30. We're getting closer to pick 30. We're looking at who's still on the board. Miami gets everybody excited. There's a move up. We move up to 27. You got Peter Woods, Omar Cooper, Kendrick Folk still on the board. Kendrick Folk still on the board. We're going, oh my gosh, could this be the pick for Folk? Are we going to get that edge rusher? They pick up Chris Johnson, 6 foot 193, San Diego State, 4 interceptions last year. This was a guy a lot of Dolphin fans throughout this draft process were excited with. They kept bringing, Bobby, Chris Johnson. You put on the film, you see why. Now, if you put a mock draft similar, he's always in round 2. He ends up being a round 1 pick. So, Nate, I'm going to start with you. What grade do you give Chris Johnson at 27, the trade up?
So when I saw his trading up, I was like, oh, we're grabbing Omar Cooper. This is the guy. I really liked Cooper out of Indiana. So as much as Chris Johnson is polished, he can play press, he can play man, he can play zone, and it's honestly a good pick, even though I did see a lot of mocks with him in round 2. Again, if that was Hafley's guy, if that was Sully adhering to his wishes and they're on that same vision, I'd want to give it an A-, but on this one, I'm going the reverse. I'm giving it a B+ just because I wanted Omar Cooper so bad on the Dolphins. That really stung, and then to see him go to the Jets, that was a tough one for me. Even if Omar Cooper couldn't have been like the true alpha 1 receiver for the Dolphins, it would have been nice to at least have like a super 2, in the likes of when we drafted Waddle and brought in Tyreek. But Chris Johnson, great player. Happy to have him on the Dolphins. Still a B+.
Sammy.
I saw someone smart ass on the chat saying that the B is basically a scapegoat pick. The smart ass is you get an A for annoying. Fistanza. Again, I'm gonna go with a B just because of the fact that there were pretty quality wide receivers. I would love Cooper to that pick too. You know what? I wouldn't expect the Dolphins to take Rodriguez basically at 27. So I was kind of surprised he was there when the Dolphins picked in the second round. So
yeah,
you can interchange both, and that's going to happen a lot of times in this draft. This is what makes it funny. A lot of picks are interchangeable. If you put Rodriguez at 27 and you move it down, basically you say, wow, that felt perfectly. So it's kind of weird because, it is what it is. So I think a lot of people truly believe from what I read, that Johnson is the perfect fit for Hafley's defense. He can play some man, he can play some cover. So I think he did a good job. That's the guy Hafley wanted. So that's commendable. Again, they knew who they wanted and they went after him. That moves an A+, grade by itself. But it's debatable how good it's gonna be. From a small college, San Diego State. So that kind of thing has got me a little queasy, like Joe Philbin. So I'll accept it. So I'm gonna go with the cup, and I'm gonna say a B. But both players have the chance to to become A+ players because the potential is there, and is how they fit on the Dolphins' offense and defense. So I'm gonna give it a B. But I would not be surprised if by year 2, he's making some stride, just like Patterson 10 and Samuel Madison did at one time for Jimmy Johnson. So I love the pick. I think it was good to take the play they wanted and the choice they wanted at cornerback, which is basically, Bobby, what I told to you. I thought that those were going to do. I thought that those were going to go wide receiver in first round because they want to pick whoever they wanted first. But they did it at corner, so that's okay.
So for me, again, Miami got all the positions of need. I mean, really, if you think about it, they hit on a lot of these positions of need. It's just the players that you think they were going to probably go get, or the players that were still on the board. I mean, for me, I'm going to give it a B+, because he's a very good player. I like him. I would. If the reason it's a B+ and not an A, Colton Hood was still there. I like Colton Hood. He went actually in round 2 to the Giants. Kendrick Folk went right after him. So I think one of those two guys, I would have probably felt better about those guys. I feel better about him. But I like Chris Johnson a lot, and I think he's going to be a solid player. And I like that they traded up and got their guy. They jumped ahead of Buffalo and took him. I think Buffalo was going to grab him. So you got to give that an A+. But in regards of grade, I'm going to go B+ on Chris Johnson. I'm excited to see what he can do next year. Now, man, what a busy day two. What a busy day two. I mean, my goodness gracious. I mean, everything it's from here to there and everywhere, and a lot of whoa, what, huh? So it was exciting. So it started off, the first was actually with the San Francisco 49ers getting dribbling out of Ole Miss. Like, I did not expect him to go that high.
That was
early.
so weird.
It was like, why? What? But again, whatever floats your boat, right? So we get to 43 in the draft, pick 11. Miami takes Jacob Rodriguez. I think if you would have switched, if you'd have put Jacob Rodriguez right at 27 or 30 and Chris Johnson at 43, AA, right? AA. Yeah. It was like, oh, what a hit. But you go get Jacob Rodriguez at 43. Guys, this was an A pick. This wasn't great. This is grade A. This is a guy, 6'1", 231. His mentor is Zach Thomas. So you've got the lineage there. His player comp is Jordan Brooks from Matt Miller of ESPN. This guy could be the captain of our defense for the years to come. And this is not the only very good linebacker pick or great linebacker pick that they've made. So for me, this was an A grade. Nando, agree, disagree?
No, I love this pick. I had to throw on the shades for this. I have to replace this hat for a cowboy hat because Jacob Rodriguez, I love this kid's stash, the energy, the swagger he's going to bring. You 100%, this guy could be a captain for this team. The fact that him and my man Jordan Brooks went to Texas Tech. I know they didn't go at the same time, but they hopefully should get along because they're going to be jockeying for who's the true captain of this defense. That's how quick I think Jacob Rodriguez is going to be making an impact day one. As soon as he steps on that field, he's going to be bumping and thumping sideline to sideline, patrolling, and it's going to be so much fun just watching us go from a couple years ago having questionable linebackers to this year. Jordan Brooks is Jordan Brooks, all pro, and now we're going to have a firecracker of a linebacker beside him. I love the pick. A++++++. My favorite pick of the draft, I think, honestly.
There you go. Sammy?
This is an A pick. Basically, a lot of mock drafts, a lot of pundits haven't late first, top half of the second round. I've seen a lot more on Rodriguez than what I thought before the draft. The character, what he brings to the table. They're gonna show we said Thomas Summon thought good things. So he's still developing. So he used to be a quarterback. He went to Texas Tech. Basically, that first year he got manhandled every single time. He didn't expect to be as good as he's been. So he's still learning. He still has a lot of upside. I think he's gonna replace probably Jordan Brooks next year, if you ask me. If the Dolphins are 1 and whatever or 2 and whatever by the trade deadline, you can see Jordan Brooks getting traded for the draft picks. So the draft is going to be deep next year. And if they're basically losing, Jordan Brooks is going to be out of here. And I think that's going to be the team with a couple of picks the Dolphins have during this draft. And that also includes Austin Jackson. So it's an 8 pick. And I would not be shocked if this is the end of Jordan Brooks because I asked the guys at Fitz Faithful last night, basically, because I wanted to know their opinion. I'm doing, opposition research. So I went to ask them, and I asked them, what did they expect about, Rodriguez as a linebacker, basically with Brooks. And they both agreed that, that it will be hard, which is basically what I thought. It will be hard for Rodriguez and Brooks to play the same way because one of the two will be out of position. So that's exactly what I thought. So it's good to know that, I was right in that regard. So that would be my thought. That would be Brooks is going to get traded. The Dolphins are basically losing a lot the next season because next year's draft is heavy. They're going to have a lot of talent, probably much more talent supposedly than this year. So the Dolphins need picks. They had the fortune of having a lot of picks. So Austin Jackson, Jordan Brooks might be on the trading radar because that will probably mean a lot of picks next year too.
That would make me so sad, Sammy. I love Jordan Brooks.
Me too.
I've been following him since he was a rookie on the Seahawks. I love him. When he came to the Dolphins, I almost bought a jersey. And when I watched him just take off for us, amazing. I would be heartbroken. You're probably right. I'd be heartbroken if we did trade him. I wanted to sign an extension. But yeah, him and Jacob Rodriguez. I guess if I'm an optimist, we keep Brooks and maybe, Rodriguez is raw enough that he can learn how to play a different way. But realistically, yeah, the Dolphins are looking to trade talent and reload on picks, but still love the Rodriguez.
It's going to cost a lot. He's gonna cost
Yeah.
a lot. So
I know.
if they're resigning after June 1st, that's off.
Hey, but no one was more excited about drafting Jacob Rodriguez than Jordan Brooks. And when he got back, they went and drafted Caleb Douglas. Both guys had a
He was
tech neck.
there.
He was ecstatic.
Yeah.
He was ecstatic. So that's a good thing. He didn't get rubbed the wrong way. Now I will say that was totally a Green Bay move, not just a talent, but preparation. Right? You have a guy who could be going is going to go on a contract year, you may have to trade him because you're not going to be able to extend him. So what do? You don't wait until you don't have him anymore. You draft a guy who could come in and step in for him once he's out the door.
Mhm.
This is, Green Bay does that all the time. People go, wait, why are we drafting this position? We have plenty of these guys because they prepare for what's next. They're preparing eventually the exit of Jordan Brooks, which Chris Greer didn't do. You didn't do that. You waited until guys were gone and you're trying to plug pieces. Now, my hope is that Brooks resigns and we got Jordan Brooks, Jacob Rodriguez, and Kyle Lewis all together in one linebacker unit, and I'm going to be ecstatic. Now, that was our first A grade. A plus Fernando, A for Sammy and myself. Now was the real, whoa, wait a minute. What? And it's nothing against the kid. I'm excited. I can't wait to see him. I hope he steps up to the plate and shocks the world. Caleb Douglas at pick 75. With the players that were still on the board, AJ Housey out of LSU, the safety, Zachariah Branch, the wide receiver, Chris Brazel, Ted Hurst, Chris Bell, Everett, Drew Alar. I mean, you, whatever is your flavor, you had plenty of it on the board at 75. Miami supposedly were targeting Malachi Fields out of Notre Dame, which would have been a really good pick. There are a lot of people in on Notre Dame on
I like
Malachi.
Fields. I like Fields.
Yeah. But he gets picked. The Giants jumped. They trade up. They take Fields. Miami gets the next best receiver on their board, Caleb Douglas. This was a guy, just for full transparency, was lower on my draft board. This was a guy who was in the fourth, not the third, but fourth, fifth round, possibly. Miami gets him in the third round at pick 75. Sammy, I'm going to start with you. What's your grade on Caleb Douglas drafting him at that spot?
I did this research, but you beat me to the punch because I went to the list that the wide receivers that were there to pick the Dolphins picks at that pick. Like you said, Branch, Jacoby Lane, Purcell, Hurst, Bell, Sarrat, Skylar Bell, and then there he is. So that's a heavy list. I know the Dolphins were waiting and the Giants jumped over them. So, they basically had to scramble to do something. And Chris Priest and others have said that, he looked very, very well against competition during the Senior Bowl. He had bad quarterback play at Texas A&M for a couple of years. So he has upside. The best is yet to come for him. So we have to wait and see. But I think they could have had him later, probably in another round. So I'm going to give that pick a C. But, again, so much potential. He looks fluid. When you see him running, one of those guys, I know the comparison is crazy. I'm not saying he's going to be Randy Moss, but he's lengthy. That guy's with long legs, long arms, so knows how to move in the field. That's a team for the Dolphins players. You see the highlights and you see you use the film, and they move very well. They move like football players. That's kind of exciting. They don't look out of place. They look like they belong. So I'm gonna give it a C. Hopefully the potential is there. We have to wait and see. But that for sure, that was the biggest disappointment with the draft for me.
Nando.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a C plus, maybe a B minus, just because he's 6'2", 6'2.5". But realistically, yeah, Sammy, you're right. That was the one where I was like, huh? I would have loved Ted Hurst if we're going for a big guy. I would have loved for maybe someone purely faster. We got a guy with speed and size, which is fun, but it wasn't like elite on either spectrum. It was like a guy who was it's a nice ad. Again, this is somewhere where I think if we had switched the Chris Bell pick with him,
Exactly.
I think that would have looked a lot better. Yeah, again, exactly, Sammy. Again, if we just switched it, like that, I think this looks a lot better. But hey, they're both third round picks. I still think Caleb Douglas, again, this is one where I'm just gonna trust the regime. I'm a pretty positive guy, as you guys know. So if Sully thinks that was the pick, that was him and his scouts, they graded, they studied. I'm not a scout. So I'll give it a C plus. So hopefully that thing becomes a B minus. Hopefully it becomes an A, obviously. But hey,
I think this
Definitely
obviously with the report that they were targeting Malachi, he lost them, so they're like, okay, let's make another pick here. We're gonna go Caleb Douglas. Again, looking at Douglas again, 6'3", 206. I mean, he's fast. He ran a 4.39 at the combine. He's really fast. Now that doesn't always show up on film. You don't see some of that on film sometimes, which is why he's it's inconsistent. Now, Sammy, you bring up the quarterback position, which is absolutely fair. I am so excited to see him just because of the reach. Like, this is a guy who everybody's kind of going, huh? And not going, I'm excited. So there's no expectations with him. The only expectation may be that he fails, because it's like, why would you get him at third? You should have got him in the fifth. You got him in the fifth, it would have been better, right? But it wasn't. You got him in third. So everybody's expecting a failure. So I hope I'm going to be rooting day one that, man, when he shows up, people go, holy crap, that was a steal in round 3, not that was a reach in round 3, which is crazy to say. However, again, you brought up Ted Hurst, AJ Halsey, Zachariah Branch. I mean, there are a lot of players still, Chris Bell, that were still on the board. So for me, at this point in time, this is a D plus for me. It's a reach. There's other players I think would have been better. I mean, you brought up size. Ted Hurst is right there. Chris Brazzell is still there.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So I'm not hating on this guy. I'm not hating on him. I just think that there were better options on the board at that point, especially at receiver. You could have gone. You went Douglas, and I'm going to trust that you know better than me anyway, because that's
how to use him
to do. But exactly, they have a plan already. They drafted for a reason. They know what they're going to use him for. So I'm going to trust it. But right now, I'm giving it a D plus.
No, agree.
D plus.
Oh, yeah, no, he said D. He said D. He said D.
D.
No, yeah, that's what I understood. You give me someone a D? That's harsh.
Yeah, I give him a D plus. I'm not giving him. I'm giving the Dolphins a
the Dolphins pick. I get it.
Yes, D plus.
No, that's valid, because like I'm giving it like a C plus with the hopes of it being a B if it's like, okay, they have this vision. But Bobby, if they just drafted the Dolphins finally have a big receiver, and we just don't use him properly, we don't have him in nice red zone situations, we don't use him downfield, there's just no plan for him, then yes, I think this quickly become a D. It's like, why did you reach for him then? Is this the guy you loved, or is this the guy that you were just like, it's cool?
And that's the thing. It's a D plus right now. That doesn't mean it's going to be a D plus later. I'm rooting for him, and I think hopefully he has a chip on his shoulder. He goes, I'm going to prove that they drafted right, that they made the right decision, right? Like, you hope Ty Simpson, at least for the Rams, is thinking that, like, I'm going to show that they made the right decision. I hope that he believes in that. DSG Bobby loves the D. Shut up. I said D plus. A, B, C, D. Nando, this is FTSN, my man. We make jokes here. We have fun. We talk about girth. We talk about little things. Antsy and the pantsy. We have fun here. So, enjoy yourself. Anyway.
We're here to have fun. We're here to have a good time,
That's right, brother. So, Will Merrick, tight end at Ohio State. Again, there were
Thank you for saying his name.
I probably butchered it, man. Don't trust me at all. Just say Will K. I try, but again, this was a pick where I was like, I had to research it right after, kind of go back deep, because there were other tight ends that I would have been more okay with, but there are also other players that I would have preferred at that pick. You had Emmanuel Pregnon still on the board. You had Jennings Dunker still on the board. 2 good guards that would have been great at that pick. So for me, I was like, but when I did more research on him, I understood it. Again, see the vision. One of the better blocking, maybe the best blocking tight end in the draft. So I'm going to give it a C plus, the tight end at Ohio State. I'm going to give that pick a C plus. Nando, where are you going with this one?
I'm probably going B minus, actually. Again, at first thought, I was like, why are we going this? At first, I was all over the place. I was like, we got a tight end. Let's go. Then I looked more into it. I was like, we got a blocking tight end. Why? When there were other players on the board, if we're going to address blocking, why don't we go for guard? Why didn't we look at other areas of the draft? But then I looked at it more, And I really did like his ability to maybe stretch the seam, to be able to be that athletic tight end. He's 6'5", 250 pounds. Even if he's more of a blocking hybrid tight end at first, if he becomes a red zone weapon for us, again, we have Caleb Douglas, we have Will K, Kamaric. I'm gonna butcher his name forever until he catches me plenty of touchdowns and I'm screaming Special K at all times. Like, I want to believe that this is a vision pick of somebody who's gonna get us physical, who's gonna help us block, open up those holes for Achan, open up for Malik. But if he becomes a red zone threat, oh my God, guys, that size, that frame, the girth. Let's ride with it.
Yes, sir. You plug the holes with the girth. Wait a minute. No, hold on. Reverse. Get the girth to open up the holes to get in. Wait, nope, that's not. Let's slow it down here for a second. But we got Nando saying the girth. Let's ride. We're doing it. Woo!
Girth, baby.
Took 45 minutes and we got it. So
I just had to know the parameters of the show. I had to know how free we were to fire.
Sammy, what's great on this one, my man?
This is a C-. It's a C- just for the fact that Jolly was there, who's probably more complete wide receiver. I get the Dolphins lost, Julian Hill, Julian Penalty Hill, that, left for the Patriots. So they needed a blocking tight end. So I get that. But Pretnong is there. I would have, something again, changing picks, and, you get Pretnong before and whatever here. But I still think it's a C-, because so far it's been one-dimensional, of course. Still have a chance to develop. He was by far, by every single pundit, the best blocking tight end in the whole draft, and they know what they're doing. Again, we talked so many times during the draft day and Fista today all the weeks. They wanted to be more physical. They wanted to be bully to other teams. They wanted to be bigger. So they did that. They accomplished that. So, but the fact that he's so far during his career just one-dimensional doesn't allow me to give you a higher grade. So I'd have to go to a C-. But again, the potential is there. If you can find a way to develop, short passes, taking passes in the end zone for touchdowns, that was basically what the more important thing that they should do. That he can ride the board, that board a lot, and we can have someone who's a complete tight end by year 3. So I'm gonna give it a C-, but we have to wait and see again.
Let me go right now. We're gonna get to the next pick, which is pick 94, which is my favorite. But we're gonna say hello to everyone who's watching right now. We got Dad Dean, we got Robert. Got Idleman. I appreciate everybody in the comments. Posner kids are in the house. The realist, Devon Ancient, was doing backflips after the draft. I love that. He says, Caleb Douglas, this is the realist. He says, Caleb Douglas is the type of player that could be a better pro than college player. He wasn't a bad college receiver, and that could translate into a great pick. Love that. Love it. Appreciate that. Got Nick in here. DSG, Cap for Life, Panda, Stanza, and the deep zones. So, how did you guys get out of school with all such low grades? So, Mao,
straight A's, baby, straight A's.
Straight A's.
Steve Malloy in the house. Real Talk Finstock in the house. The realist says he's the type of player every team needs and values so much nowadays. All the tight ends can catch, but they can't block to come away with the best blocking tight end in the draft. He likes it. I love that point. Great point from the realist 69. Now, pick 94. A guy, if he was healthy, you could have picked him at pick 27. He was a first-round grade for me. I love this guy. He was my draft crush, Nando. This was a guy that when I was on the SoFlo Sports Show, they said, Bobby, who is straight D's, baby? They said, who's your draft crush this year? Last year was Ollie Gordon before the draft. We got Ollie Gordon. But I was like, I'm not going to go with a first-round guy. I'm not, because everybody say Ruben Bain, Miami guys. I'm gonna go Chris Bell. This guy is built like a power back, a linebacker, like a Brinks trunk. Runs like a gazelle. He's explosive. To me, could possibly be, and there's a couple of them, the steal of the draft. This guy right now, when healthy, is more than likely number 1 receiver. That's Chris Bell. Chris flipping Bell. Chris, ring that bell. I was ecstatic when we got this pick. A plus. plus, hit that ball home run. I love this pick. Chris Bell, I mean, I'm going to say when he's healthy, when it gets there, the fans are going to know we got ourselves a stud. Trust me on that. Go ahead, Nando.
He's already running 18 miles an hour. That day is coming, Bobby. I also love this pick. This is the type of pick where, yes, ordinarily you get scared drafting somebody coming off of an injury, but when you have a first round talent grade and you get him in the third round, and it's not somebody who has a slew of injuries, who has these degenerative knee issues. No, I'm just talking about somebody who tore their ACL in December. Like, he's just recovering. That's all that it is to it. And he's got that big bully ball type of football. He's a big boy. He has that A.J. Brown-esque build of a guy who just likes to get up there and yank the football down. I love that. Yes, don't force him. Exactly, Steve. What's up, bud? Do not force this guy on the field. He's running 18 miles an hour. That's probably faster than I can run, but let's get him up. Let's get him up to those 20, to the 22s, whatever we needs to do to feel fully comfortable, to be able to make cuts, run routes, and to be fully healthy. We're not winning the Super Bowl this year as much as I would love to. So let's just let him recover. Let him get on the field when he has to, learn the playbook, get healthy, ready to fly. And Chris Bell has the type of upside where at the very least, he's a high-end receiver 2 for us for a long time. We might have just found a receiver 1 in the middle of the third round. Like, this is a stud of a pick. I love this. Let's rock.
I want to say, Sammy, follow right up. I agree with what Steve is saying. I agree with what Nick is saying. I think, again, don't rush him. This is why, again, you already have Tolbert. You have Tutu Atwell. You drafted Caleb Douglas. You drafted Kevin Coleman. You could possibly sign Jerron Jennings. You could allow, say, hey, Bell, take all the time you need, man. Train, get ready. And it's true. He could be our number 1. And I think he can be. And I think he will be. But you just said maybe high-end number 2. Because you know who I'm picturing in next year? That Jeremiah Smith out of Ohio State.
Yeah.
That's who I want, boy. I want Jeremiah Smith here, Chris Bell over here. Sign me up. Signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. That's where I'm going.
I'm a greedy man. I agree. I would love that, honestly. That's what I meant by high end too. I'm not talking about some Joe Schmo coming in. I'm talking about a top end, top 5, maybe top 8 talent at worst coming in to steal this man's job, because we have a true stud in our hands in Chris Bell. I would love that. And yeah, let all the other receivers jockey around for position. Let's see who's going to stay as our wide receiver 3. Let them figure it out. But
100%.
I would love that.
Sammy, your grade on Chris Bell.
Okay, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Rodriguez was my favorite pick of the draft. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and twice on Sunday, Bell was my favorite pick of the draft because I still amazed at the fact that he was there. I understand that he's hurt, and I agree. I was going to say exactly that. They had to take this time for him. They should put it on physically unable to perform to start the season. Slow cook him. Wait for him for a while. They have a lot of buddies. Again, like I would not use the word that DSG used, but we're not gonna win a lot of games this year, so they can take their time with him. But the comparisons, and Antonio Brown and some other players that I compare it to Deebo Samuel because he's big, he's lengthy, he has some girth in the body, so he has so many possibilities. Hopefully he comes back. Okay, he wanted to be drafted so much that it was emotional for him. I like that kind of that passion.
Yes.
He wanted to basically prove it very wrong, and that kind of motivation, not the motivation that you're angry because you got passed, and that's understandable. That's okay, but when you want to prove yourself, you want to prove your worth. That's the kind of player I like. So I think it's a great pick. I'm gonna give it an A. I think it's an awesome pick. I would have been happy if the Dolphins took us maybe a 75, who knows, because that's the kind of player he is. I understand he would not be taken at 75 because of the injury, but the range is there for a player that caliber to be taken at 75. So that's an A for me, and that's those kind of things that you see come to the Dolphins and say, finally things are kind of falling in our place. We'll have to wait and see the player he becomes, but usually we don't get those bounces, right? Usually we get the complete opposite, the bounce where the team jumps ahead of us, like it happened with the Giants, and we don't get a pick. So I'm glad that the Dolphins took him. It's an A for me.
I'll just say too, I mean, again, Jon-Eric Sullivan, when Greer got fired, a lot of people, I said it all, Jon-Eric Sullivan. There was a lot of guys were on his mind. A lot of times he'd go to another organization and we'd get the second or third guy. We got Jon-Eric Sullivan. Coach Halfley. A lot of people were on Halfley. I wanted a veteran coach, but I understood it, especially with Sullivan. We got Halfley. Malik Willis. There's no way we're going to get Willis, man. We got Tua's deal. Even when we cut him, that's going to kill us. How the hell did we sign Willis? It seems like it kind of playing into that way. Now, in regards to Chris Bell, the realist, that's exactly I hate player comps. I don't like doing it. I don't think it's fair. But if you had to ask me a comp, it's Anquan Bolden. That's who I see with Chris Bell. And I love that he's a Anquan on steroids. So there you go. Now, moving on, we finally get to day 3, and day 3 was equally as busy. 8 hours of draft coverage for FTSN. We were live the whole time. Sammy, me, Steve, Q, Will, maybe the Finstanza showed up, I think. Forget me if I'm just crazy right now. Russ Morgan, a lot of people were in there. They were all good. So it was great to see everybody there. But day 3 was a lot of fun. Day 3 started off really good, at least for Miami. You look at who was left on the board, but at that point, you lost Bryce Lance was drafted before that, LT Overton, which, like, damn, but you go and get Kyle Lewis out of Pittsburgh, 6 foot, 220 pounds. This guy's a Swiss Army knife, safety, linebacker. We drafted him as a linebacker. As soon as we drafted him, I was ecstatic because I was like, this guy, put him with Jordan Brooks, put him with Jacob Rodriguez. You're going to have a field day. You're not going to have no worries about tight ends or running backs or anything like that trying to be sneaky in the middle of the field because we got Kyle Lewis. I love this pick. B+. Nando, what do you think of this pick?
No, I love this as well. B+. Versatility with defense is so much fun, especially in this modern NFL when a hybrid role, a guy could play safety, linebacker, who can just flit and fly around the field, sting like a butterfly, hit like a bee, whatever the Muhammad Ali saying is. I just butchered that, but you know what I'm trying to say. This is a guy who can hit you and be fast. He can get in there. He can get out there, inside, outside, maybe a little small. But at the end of the day, he's got some heart, and I love that. Let's let him fly around the field. At the very least, he's going to start kicking it off on special teams. But I'm excited. I think he's going to be a nice addition to the team. I'll give it a B+.
Sammy.
Well, let me say it, please. Daniel Jeremiah had him ranked as the 55th best player. And basically every consensus, he was a top 100 pick. So basically, it's a steal. When you get the kind of player, basically that guy's kind of pick, you solidify the position. Again, like you said before, it's a Green Bay move. You have a very full linebacker room, but they went with the best player because even Sullivan half they said it. You have a very good room. A couple of injuries happen, and you have a bigger room. So you have to go with the best player available, no matter what. So again, this is an A- pick for me. I think going by the consensus that everybody thought it was a great pick, and basically a top, even top 75, top 60 player in some cases. I like the fact that they went for him. So it's an A- B+. I'm gonna go with A-.
So, and I want to say too, very quick, you talked about Daniel Jeremiah, Matt Miller. The NFL draft scout on X, that's his handle. 6 of Miami's picks made his top 100 best value picks. Mm-hmm. Jacob Rodriguez at 14. Chris Bell, 31. Kaden Proctor, 35. Chris Johnson, 38. Kyle Lewis, 40. And 93 was Max Leron. I'm going to butcher that name. See,
wasn't he compared to Derek Brooks?
Say what?
Was it that he compared to Derek Brooks?
I'm not sure. I didn't see that.
I think I saw that somewhere. Yeah.
But again, remember, I love that pick. I thought that guy could have been taken in the 4th round. You got him in round 7, and he's here in the top 100 at least for Matt Miller. Dade County Slim, great to see you in here. This feels like Dolphins forcing themselves. You typed that in twice, huh? Okay, so yeah, this feels like Dolphins forcing themselves to like a bunch of 6 and 7s. 6-7. Rodriguez, the only upside I'm feeling. Wow. Well, to each their own, my man. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you commenting. Everybody has their opinion. I think, I disagree. I mean, because again, I did give a D+ for Caleb Douglas. I did give a C- here. But I will with this next pick, actually, not with this next one, but Chris Bell, there's hot upside with that, my man. Yeah, trust me. You know, you're I hope you're pleasantly surprised, but I get your trepidation there. He's your future strong safety, Giovanni Foster says. He was drafted as a linebacker, but could be your future strong safety.
He was Louis, Bobby was Louis Riddick to compare him to Derek Brooks.
Oh, really? Okay. So there you go. I didn't see that. The next pick is Michael Taft, safety out of Texas at 158. 158. Again, for me, you had Nicholas Singleton still on the board, Kilgore. You had Adam Randall at running back, Masses at corner. So I feel like there were some better players on the board. But again, you needed a safety. I don't think they drafted him for need. I think they drafted because of what they believe on the board. But I'm going to give this one, I'm going to give it a C-. Sammy.
I'm going to go C+, just because of the fact, like you said, there were other players on the board. There were other safeties on the board. Self-made guy, walk on, you know. So, you know, he basically paid for himself that first year. He got a scholarship later. You know, an overachiever, a guy who wants to play, apparently very smart, apparently always very prepared. That's encouraging, but, you know, we have to wait and see if that's the kind of player that I've seen some people that believe he's going to start from day one. Some guys in the community, I do believe that. I've seen Jason Sarney, Doug Luron saying they expect this to start week one. Homer Jelly didn't believe so, but I don't want to agree with Homer Jelly, but we'll have to wait and see. So I'm going to give it a C+, and hopefully, you know, that hunger remains with him, and he finds a way to find the starting lineup like others believe.
Nando?
He's not the greatest athlete. It's not the sexiest pick, but he's got great instincts. He's a great tackler. He's a guy who I do think can contribute. I love Jason Sarney. That's a great man, great mind. And if he thinks he can be a starter, I'm ready for him to start for our squad. I don't think this is like a Caleb Downs level starter. You know, it's not just going to be like, wow, the Dolphins have a top safety in the NFL. But if he's our starter, I don't think we're in a bad position. You know, this is hopefully a type of guy where we have our starting safety for not an expensive price for the next couple of years, and we can start loading up on other positions of the defense. And yeah, let's flesh it out. Let's get a nice B.
There you go. So as we go on here, let's see here. Panda Lewis Moore from Indiana will make the team and contribute. Probably will start over Taft initially. Oh, interesting. Realist says Taft is very physical and very fast. Love it. Let's go on. And then you got the next pick, which is Kevin Coleman Jr., wide receiver, a third receiver taken for Miami at 177. Again, 5'10", 175, 179, out of Missouri. Played at Louisville as well, his second year in college. Not the fastest, not the most explosive, but definitely a weapon. A guy that I've seen a few people say, few experts have said that this guy could be that under the radar good pick, that Miami stole him, that they expect him to contribute very early on in the season. He could be a kick returner, which is what they needed. I think they should. I was looking at Xavion Brown out of LSU as a possible return man for Miami. So I did expect possibly 3 wide receivers. So I like this pick. I'm going to give this one a C+. Nando.
At the end of the day, is it a C+? Is it a B? Like, we already addressed receiver earlier in the draft. I'm okay with Coleman, but he was a former 5-star recruit. He's fast. You know, he's got some electricness to him. He's got some great acceleration. In the same way that I want, just throw a dartboard at this point. You know, let's flesh out our receiver room. Let's hopefully we get a little bit of magic out of a guy who didn't squeeze as much of it in college. If he becomes a better pro than he is a collegiate athlete, I'm pumped for the pick. But I would really probably just put this as a C, only because we already addressed receiver earlier in the draft. And it's not like he is this crazy game changer. He's a little small. But if he finds himself in the slot and he dominates that role, I could quickly change on this pick. He was a former 5-star.
There you go. I love it. And I thought you were going the other end. I'm like, is he? I think he's an A+. Like, oh, damn. All right. My bad. Oh, my goodness. He made me feel like a prick. No, but Sammy, Kevin Coleman.
Oh boy, I don't know about this. Because you have to find an age for him. If he's speedy, maybe a kick returner, but he doesn't have the speed. You know, some people will like him. I want to believe he has very secure hands. Maybe he's a punt returner, and they expect to use Malik Willis and all those things. So I'm not Malik Willis, the other wide receiver. I forgot his name. I'm farting. So I'm gonna go. I don't want to give him a D, but I'm so close. I'm gonna give him a C-, but you know I'm very close to giving him a D.
So we're gonna go into D+ for you. We're just say D+. Sounds like you want to say a D+. Let's just be nice. I mean,
Sure.
Give it a little bump. Give it a little bump.
Give it a little bump. You know. I agree, Nick. I think they're gonna compete because it's always about competition, but especially when you know the team doesn't have a lot of solid, you know, or for sure guys on the roster. You guys have to earn their spots. We could see Malik Washington with a lot more opportunity to play on the field on offense than on special teams. Miami might be thinking ahead of the curve. So could be the case there. Now, this one here was the one where it's kind of like there's not a lot of picks in this draft where you're like, I can't see how this guy fits. Like, you know, Cam Smith was that a few years back, right? A couple years back where you're like, why did we take him? Where does he fit? You know, why, you know, you start researching, oh, he went to school with Chris Greer's son. Well, hopefully he lives up to the, nope, doesn't. Nope, we cut him. Oh, he's out. Oh my God, is Vic Fangio? No, he did something. Okay. That, you know, none of those picks we had in this draft. Mine is probably just one, really. And that was the tight end we took out of Mississippi State, where you're kind of like, I don't know. And that's Seydou Traoré, butcher him, Traoré, whatever, French, I assume. But the more I watched him, watch how he ran routes, you know, I saw somebody who could move with ease, breaking out of routes, catching passes. He made a lot of nice passes. I want to watch a whole game on film just to kind of get a chance to see every little thing, the drops, whatever, what could have been the case. He played for Mississippi State. But I'll tell you, because, again, what was still on the board at that point in time, I think Adam Randall was still on the board at that point. There were a few guys there. I'm going to go, I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to go with a D- on this pick because I just don't know. I don't know. I think there are better players on that board. Maybe he surprises us. You know, there was a guy a couple years back that they drafted that we're kind of like, what? I mean, not just Cam Smith, but, you know, oh, maybe he could be a receiver. Maybe he could do this. Maybe this could be the case. I don't see it right now. I'm going with a D- here, Nando.
D-, man. For my boy, Seydou Traoré.
There you go, Traoré. Oh, see, look at you. All right.
Seydou Traoré. He's raw, man. We already addressed tight end. Like when I was grading the Kamaric, the Will K, the special K pick, Kamaric. I'm never gonna say that name until he catches at least 5. Kamaric. Until he catches at least a couple touchdowns. Kamaric. I was grading him based off of the intangibles, what he could grow and project to. So if I did that for him, I have to be fair to Traoré. He's not a complete product. He's not done yet. I'll probably bake him in at like a C-, but he's, yes, very raw. Like this is like, if this was a steak, this is medium blue at best, you know, like this guy is barely cooked, but still steak. You know, he could still be nice and juicy if he's prepared the right way. But right now, it's C-. You know, he's
there. You go, C-. All right, so I went D-. You went C-. Sammy,
D. I have to give it a D because basically, you know, an international player, you know, probably could have gone undrafted because, you know, I know he's playing here. I get that he's playing in the United States. I get it, but you know, usually those guys doesn't do very well. You know, it would be hard. The only ones who do well those rugby guys because they're, you know, they have the body, they have the mentality. So I think they could have done so many things with that pick. I would love to find a special teamer, you know, a specialist with that pick. So I'm gonna give it a D, and then I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, he is. I forgot he was a goalie. I just read that real quick. Like we've all heard of like basketball players transitioning to tight end. Goalie as a tight end is kind of interesting, though. You know, they do hop pretty well. They have some nice air time. They jump, pretty strong hands. It could be nice, but yeah, no, it's most likely a D, Sammy. I'm just a hopeful man. I'm optimistic, you know.
Stranger things have happened. Hopefully, I'm wrong. I would love for it to be wrong. I want to be wrong with the guys I gave it a grade to. But stranger things have happened. But you know, the odds are not in his favor. Let me put it that way.
No.
Now
He
these
could be a
next-
crazy story.
He could be.
I would love that.
You know, but we all would. These next two picks are guys I feel really good about. I think these guys. I think we got DJ Campbell, Texas, the 19th pick in round 6. This was a pick that I do like. This is a guy who they Miami projects that could get some reps at center and reps at guard. I expect him to compete with Jonas Savanea, who is going to be moved to the right side, which I think is great. Jon-Eric Sullivan talked about that Proctor is projected to go to the left side, Savanea to the right side. I think that's better. Savanea, that's his natural position. And I love the idea of competing. Let him compete against DJ Campbell. Let him get a shot. If he can't beat him out, that's on him. Or maybe we get the best version of Savanea, who I think can still be a very good player. I'm not giving up on him 1 year with crappy coaching staff and everything else. So I love this pick. I love the experience, ton of experience, 43 starts. I'm going to give this a C+. Sammy.
Considering he was picked at the 200 pick, we want a girth. We want to go a good body of work. Big looks,
Girth.
Looks. I saw some videos. I think he looks pretty, shifty by the way. He probably is not the best pass blocker, but he looks like powerful guy. So considering it was the 200 pick, coming for a good program, I'm gonna give it a B, a solid B. I think we have to consider the pick when it was taken. He was taken with the 200 pick. So to pretend that we're gonna get a Pro Bowler every single year for 200 pick, that would be an expectation that's just crazy. But if we get some ones who can be developed, who makes the team, I would love that for him. So I'm gonna give it a B and hope for the best.
Nando.
I'm also gonna give him a B. I like someone with experience, kind of like we were just talking about with Traore being so raw. This is kind of the flip side. We've got a guy with plenty of starts to his name who's got pure power, whether it's at center, whether it's at guard. He also has some versatility to him. And hey, if we're beefing up the inside, even if it's just to sharpen Sine Neva, I don't know if this is iron sharpens iron, more like two big lumps sharpening each other, but this is hopefully those lumps turn into a big solid diamond, diamond in the rough coming
Two
about.
B's get to grow to a solid D. I was like, what are we doing, Nando? What are you doing?
The analogy kind of evolved onto it.
Yeah, I got bad. As
Two B's after the D.
You had to finish it though. You have to see it through. You got to see it through, my boy.
We had to see it through, Girth, I guess, that's what we had it for this pick.
That too.
He's got that shifty girth. Good one for the realist.
Shifty Girth. There we go.
DSG, I'm not reading your comment. I'm not answering you either. You think you're slick. I know what you're trying to do. Troublemaker there, brother. Troublemaker. This next one, I'll just say, again, Max Laurent out of Iowa, the edge rusher. I did not expect him to be there. I'm glad Miami took advantage of that. They get their second edge after taking Trey Moore, which we didn't talk about Trey Moore. I don't think we did. Maybe I'm crazy. But Laurent out of Iowa, I love that pick. I really do. I think, again, I think that guy could have been taken in the 4th round, 3rd round, maybe late 3rd. You got him at the 7th pick in the 7th round at pick 22. I think this guy has an opportunity to contribute on day one. I would give Trey Moore, we didn't talk about him, I'd give him a C+. That tells you how much we care. That's so bad. I just realized we didn't talk about Trey Moore. A C+, but I'm going to give Laurent, especially in the 7th round, I'm giving him a B+. So I feel good how we addressed our edge rushers, Nando.
No, I also didn't expect him to be that late. I would have liked us to address edge a little earlier and a little heavier, but to get someone at that caliber late on, I'll definitely give it a B-. Nice effort, technically sound, crazy motor, and that's what I really like in my edge rushers. I want a guy who has no quit. I don't want someone who is always just relentless. And if that's what we're going to have, nice discipline, nice relentless high effort player, that deep in the round, let's do it, man. Like I saw something similar in Cameron Good when we got him a couple years ago. Just a high effort player with a lot of experience who just wants to get a lot of sacks. Didn't really turn out the way I thought of, but hey, let's take this pick to the max.
There you go. And I will say, Nick, you're right. Again, I had him going much earlier. Max, I had him going earlier, and he fell. Why is that? I don't know. Again, just draft was just weird. There were a lot of guys that came off the board when I didn't think they were come off the board at that spot. There were a lot of good guys that were still on the board, and even after the draft, I was shocked. So I don't know why he was there, but Miami took advantage, and the rich get richer at least with him. Sammy, what's your grade on? Oh, go ahead, Nando.
Sorry, just to answer that point because it is interesting. I feel like this draft in particular, and correct me if you guys think I'm wrong, but I feel like this draft in particular, the GMs really just showed like we don't care what like most people think. We have our own boards, and they're just gonna draft as they please. The Niners did it, the Rams did it, we did it. The Jets were doing their thing. The Browns were swinging up and down. Like the GMs kind of just took a look at their own boards and just made their own moves in this draft more so than others, in my opinion. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
No, great point. Great point. Sammy, your grade on Max.
I have to tell you what. I had to go with what Robert said. I thought we skipped more because I don't remember giving my grade for more. So.
Yeah, we did. We skipped more. That's why I said I'll give him a C+. But yeah, I'll give more. We did skip more. My bad. That was on me. That was on me.
I thought we were gonna get back to him at the end of the third, but it's okay.
I'm gonna go with B for more. I want to say that because I thought he's a specialist. He was. Yeah. You know who was
linebacker.
You know who was considered to be, and especially when he was drafted, Jason Taylor. Jason Taylor was supposed to be a specialist, because he was too long, too lengthy, not enough body to stop the run. Nick Saban came to Miami and found a way to put some body into Jason Taylor and develop him as a run defender. So it's, of course, I'm not saying he's Jason Taylor, but those things kind of happen. So he's a specialist, so I'm gonna go more with a B. If I'm not mistaken, Javelin was a top 100. That list we talk about, he was one of those top 100 picks, right? That was considered the Dolphins got to 100 picks. I think he was the last one of those 100 picks. So considering he was the last pick of the Dolphins draft, I'm gonna give it an A because if you get that kind of talent in the 7th round, you're doing great. So I'm gonna give that grade an A.
Love it. There you go. There you go. So let's round this out here. Maybe not round it out because I don't think we're gonna spend time rounding it out. But if you had to give this draft a overall grade, Nando, where would you put it?
I'm buying in on the vision. Like you step back and you just accept that the half-man halfly and Sullivan have amassed their new crop of rookies, taken their picks, and really gone for their guys. I'll give it an A-. I'm hoping that the big boys that we got, the size and the girth that we've added to this draft, the speed and the receivers, the big boys in the trenches. Let's have all these guys develop and be here for a while. It'd be a nice part of the story if their first draft was guys that are part of this Dolphins core for the next 5 to 8 years to come. So let's give it an A-. Let's be hopeful and watch these guys develop.
I like it. Sammy.
Well, I did the sum, so I did add it up.
Oh, there you go.
I did add it up. So mine comes to basically to 2. I'm gonna round up. So it's come to 2.92. It's basically rounded to a B-, but I'm gonna round up. So I'm gonna give myself a B. Okay. Again, which basically is the same thing I did on Sunday after the draft, but this time it came out to the B. So it's a straight B for them.
So Bell Curve.
I like that you did the math, Sammy. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I'm glad you did that because I did do that on for me when I was doing it originally. And let me see if I could pull that up. So,
while you check, Bobby, let me do a roundup for you. Give you a big grade. Let's go to the consensus of basically the big sources gave the Dolphins a grade. NFL.com gave it a B, so basically a whole B. NFL class ranking gave it an A-. CBS Sports gave it a B+. CBS CBS Sports, the class rating give it a B plus. Kuiper give it a B. The Dolphins fan poll give it a B, and Sports gave it a D. That's the only one that I thought it was.
Who?
See, if I remember, Chad Forbes is the one from.
Oh, Chad Forbes. Oh,
I'm not sure what's Chad Forbes.
we're gonna
Not,
boycott
but
him
someone
now.
from Fox.
He's canceled. We don't care about Chad Forbes anymore.
Yeah, but someone from Fox giving a D. That's the only. Even Prisco thought it was a very good draft. I think
He did. Yes, I saw that.
So, basically, if you think you Dolphins got a D, you're basically, way out of the curve on this one. So it doesn't make any sense.
So with me, my grades, and because I had written them out before, the averaging out was about 2.56, which is what I figured it would be, and or at least where I, not the math, because I'm terrible at math, but in regards of the grade, and it's a C plus. So, and that's where I feel comfortable. And again, it's not because I think any less of the players. Again, I'm excited about the vision. I'm excited about, like Panda says, concerted effort to draft guys who will help get rid of that soft moniker. I agree. They had a vision. They got their guys. They didn't give a damn what anybody else thinks, and they don't care what I think. But again, there was just the players that were still left on the board on some of these picks. Even the guys that I like that we took, there was still a lot of talent they left on the board. So that's where I would say, after all my grades, I'm going to give it a solid C plus. And I think it could be, of course, I think it'll go higher once we actually see what they do. But I'm going to go ahead and give it a C plus. Sammy, did Omar give anything? No, Omar?
Omar Jenny, he basically says everything. He knows everybody more than anyone. No, he watches film. Sure, he does. He doesn't even know who the Dolphins is going to play next year and going to tell me he watched film. Come on, stop it.
Jesus.
Crap. What a jerk. Omar Jenny.
Oh man. Oh gosh. Okay, so there you guys have it. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the comments here. Idleman says bell curve A. Robert says B plus. Let's see here.
I want to see those grades, guys.
I want to see those grades come in here. As they wait on that, let's talk about what's going on FTSN. Well, FTSN, I mean, again, you think, the draft's over, we're going to slow down. No, we're not. Got a lot more stuff cooking in the background. Of course, Dolphins content. Even though, we'll wait to see what happens June 1st. We don't expect a lot, but we'll wait to see. We'll see maybe if there's a trade going down. But also, in regards of just draft content, we've already jumped to 2027. Josh, Coach, myself are already gone to work. We're excited about what we have in store, not just for next season, but this coming up season. We got content coming for that. Well, maybe there's some film watching, maybe there's some different things being in play. So look for that. Obviously, Fins Talk today will continue to come week to week with great content for you. With, of course, Sammy of Fins TV and myself. And we got East Century boys talking Heat, talking Dolphins, talking Miami life. Growing up Hialeah, loving it all, just talking about life there. We got, yes, sir. We got Major League Baseball. We got Marlins. We got professional wrestling, No Holds Barred Wrestling podcast, where, we're going WrestleMania by WrestleMania. But actually, this Saturday, we're watching episode 3 and 4 of the Hulk Hogan Real American documentary. We already did 1 and 2. We're doing 3 and 4 now. As Sammy laughed at me the other day, I'm not looking forward to it because I know the ending. And, they kind of spoiled it at the beginning of episode 1. They showed the casket. I'm like, wait, he died? The hell? Like, no, Hulkamania.
Could it be much better, by the way? Spoiler alert, I thought it was going to be much better.
Well, you thought the death was going to be better? I mean, they should have showed it. I mean, it's kind of anticlimactic. I don't know. I didn't get to the ending yet.
Exactly,
Either way, if you like professional wrestling, check out No Holds Barred on Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Sammy, what do you got going on Fins TV?
Well, Fins TV is on hiatus. We're still waiting to see what's going to be in the minicamp. The Dolphins has not announced where it's going to be the minicamp. So the week after, Tuesday after the minicamp, Fins TV is back. So we have to wait and see on that. Maybe a Fins TV extra with Eddie Chapman during the next couple of weeks. Something big happens. If nothing so today, of course, here on FTSN having fun. Please follow me on X at Fins Sammy. I want to make new friends on X. And of course, please follow Fins TV at Fins TV.
Hey, Robert, what you gonna do, brother? Yes, sir. I just want to say very quick. Yeah, that's right. FTSN Fins Talk today, sponsored by Caneswear. Again, if you love the Hurricanes, you love the Dolphins, Marlins, Heat, Florida Panthers, go check out Caneswear at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida. They got a lot of great gear, a lot of great prices, great people. As you know, Brett was the owner was with us on the draft content show, or draft coverage show on day 2. Amazing. You know, they got Canes Wear TV on their channel. So excited about that. If you're anywhere other though in South Florida, if you're South Florida, go check out the shop. But if you're not in South Florida, don't worry about it. If you're in Puerto Rico like Sammy, or in Nashville like me, or Texas like Steve, or whatever, Canada like Evan, go to caneswear.com. Again, great options. They ship everywhere. They're fast. Go check them out at Caneswear.
By the way, Caneswear has to be happy. FTSN got over 2,000 viewers continually every single day of coverage of the draft. So
more than 10,000 overall for all 3 days.
Overall, yes, but continuously, when you can have a lot of numbers the day after, but you have to continuously have good numbers. And FTSN basically have live viewers over 2,000 coming on platform. So Caneswear has to be happy.
Caneswear is pretty awesome. They're like maybe 5 minutes from my house, and I've been going there since I was at least 10, 15 years. It's an amazing place to grab so much gear. Whenever my cousins are in town, they like to bring little stuff to Peru. I usually just take them to Caneswear. It's a pretty easy spot for them to add Panther stuff, Heat stuff, Dolphin stuff. So nice stuff. And if you can't go there, yeah, they do ship. But if you can stop back inside, definitely a fun place to check out.
100%.
They used to have a very cool store. They changed to the new one, to the bigger one, and it's awesome. If you have not been there the last couple of years, that new location is awesome. Way bigger, lot more stuff. Go to Caneswear.
Nando, man, first off, I can't tell you how happy I am that you were able to come on here, dude. It has been a minute since you and I have been on the same show, and it's what I remember, dude. You are fun. You got great opinions, so I thank you. I hope it's not the last time you join us, dude. You're awesome. And but let everybody else know where they could find you, my man.
Bobby, I truly appreciate the opportunity to come on. It's fun talking to you and Sammy. Thank you. You can find me at Nando Talk, just the way it's spelled here down below. I'm on X, I'm on YouTube. I'm technically on Instagram and TikTok. I don't really post there as much. I'm trying to. But thank you so much, mainly because it's fun talking about the Dolphins. It's awesome interacting with Fins fans. But I think this is the longest I've done a show in at least over a year and a half. So it feels good to shake off some rust and really be able to bust out the chops, talk to some good guys, talk to some Fins fans, and just really get those opinions out there, get the energy bumping up. And I would love to come back on the show anytime you guys want to have me. I'd love to be able to keep fleshing out those chops. I've been working a lot more recently, and I haven't had the time to record as much as I want to. But if you check me out on Nando Talk, I'll be happy to chat some more. And like Sammy said, just always fun making new friends. So thank you for the opportunity. It's been an awesome time, honestly. Let's keep spreading those positive Dolphins vibes.
There you go, my man. Love it.
And good luck with those grades. You're studying a lot, so good luck with those grades.
Yeah,
thank you. I'm gonna need some help. Honestly, I'm not the greatest student apparently. So
that happens to the best of us. So don't worry.
Hey, again, guys, everyone who's tuned in, whether you're watching on X, whether you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, wherever, if you're watching anywhere other than YouTube, come on over, hit that like and subscribe button, okay, to FTSN Fins Talk Sports Network. Remember, we got all types of content. We got great Dolphins content, great Dolphins personalities, Dolphins coverage. We got you covered everywhere and anywhere, but we also got Heat, NBA, NFL, college football, college sports, fantasy sports, wrestling. We've got it all. Baseball, we got it and more. I just got to keep throwing stuff out there because why not? That's what we do here on FTSN. So make sure you subscribe because anything can be your flavor. Even if you love or hate what we're talking about, if you hate it, you want to yell at us, put in the comments where we welcome you. This is a safe space, unless you get disrespectful, whatever. You gotta get the hell out of here. But yeah,
I forgot something, Bobby. I'm gonna be with Russ May 5th to cover the baseball show. Those Braves are doing pretty good. Hopefully by then they're still doing pretty good. So I'm gonna be talking Braves with Russ.
There you go. On Deck Baseball Podcast, May 5th. Finn, Sammy, and Russ Morgan. I'll tell you though, at Franklin, where I live in Franklin near Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee. And we have the Franklin Festival, which is awesome. It's free to park. You go and it's like Hallmark. They were filming a movie the other day when I was with my daughter. We were getting ice cream after she was doing choir at the church. And so I was like, one ice cream. I was like, all right, let's go. So I took her to go get ice cream and you just walk this beautiful town. And they were filming a movie. They're filming another Hallmark movie here. It's like, geez, dude, get out of my way. Like, excuse me, you're my light. I'm like, you're in my town. But anyway,
by the way, since we talked some wrestling, what do you think about the rumors about the WWE taking WrestleMania to Nashville?
Can't wait. WrestleMania 44 supposedly is coming to Nashville.
If that's
We'll
the case, I'll see you there, buddy.
We'll see. I'll see you there. We're gonna have to figure it
I'll
out.
see
You know,
there.
I'll leave the kids at home. They'll watch it on TV, and then we'll go see WrestleMania at the arena. You know,
Say Tyler.
just playing, son. My son went like, "Wait, what? What?" You know,
Dad?
how dare you, Dad? So anyway,
Randy Orton.
what I was going to say though about the festival was that the Atlanta Braves were doing a road trip. So they were playing in the historic Franklin Theater. And the Franklin Theater, they were playing the game. They were winning 6-0 or something like that. And they were giving, we took stickers. They told my son's like, I'm going to let you know now I'm a Marlins fan. They're like, it's okay. Today you're a Braves fan. They put a sticker on him. We're like, all right, take a quick picture. You're not posting this online. No, we're giving this to you. Oh, great. We throw it away. But it was still a good time.
I'm selfish. I'm selfish. I don't want a baseball team in Tennessee. I don't want that. That's Braves country, baby. So I don't want that for you guys. I want
a team in Nashville for sure. I want a baseball team in Nashville. I can't wait.
That's Braves country, baby. No way.
But after you subscribe, if you see all that and you really like what you're hearing, you're having fun with all that, subscribe to FTSN. Again, you got great Dolphins content, baseball, Heat, Marlins, wrestling, all of the above. But also, after you're done, jump on Finn's TV. Even though they're on hiatus, you don't want to miss the panel. You don't want to miss the show.
Great show on Tuesday. Go back. And
awesome show. Awesome show. Go check them out. None of their shows or
if you want to see
they
Steve,
never feel old.
If you want to see Steve Tipsy, go watch Tuesday's show. That was a lot of fun.
So Finn's TV on YouTube, go subscribe. And then when you're done there, you're not done. Go to Nando Talk. Hit subscribe there and go catch it. Because if you like Nando, you're going to love more of what he brings, the positivity. Also, though, the fun content and the big hat, he fits right in. He's awesome.
Talk Steve about that, by the way. No Steve Malloy.
Yeah, Steve Malloy. So, guys, like and subscribe.
Great chat.
Always, most importantly, always remember, whether you love, hate, whatever, like, subscribe, most importantly, fins up. We'll see you guys on the other side.